Welcome to B2B Commerce Corner. Commerce Corner is a sub-series of the E-Commerce Edge podcast discussing all things B2B commerce through the lens of agencies, consultants, merchants, and more. Enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome Brennen VOLBEDA to the podcast, and he is from PCNA. Welcome, Brennen.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show.
You're very welcome. And look, it's cool to have you along for the ride today. And we discovered, we were just chatting before we went on air, that we met very briefly at the last B2B Online because I believe I introduced you before you went on stage and did your big talk.
Yeah, I was one of the first keynotes, talked for Znode, just about how PCNA creates digital experiences, our website, and how we're trying to look to expand to new opportunities in the future.
And look, I've had Roop on the pod talking about the Znode platform and how after he acquired it, after he finished with his agency business and sold that, and then was deciding, okay, what do I do next? And was like, geez, I really want to do this B2B e-commerce thing, but I don't really necessarily want to start completely from scratch. So they acquired the Znode platform and then basically rebuilt it from the ground. And his story is very exciting. I've actually known Roop for, gosh, I think at least 10 or 15 years. And back when he was with Xeon Solutions was his SI. And he's doing some pretty cool stuff with the Znode platform, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a cool little, I think, more niche platform, but the changes that they've got coming up with their 10 are going to really just expand the possibilities and make it a much easier platform to develop for and build off of. So we're looking forward to when that's available in a few months.
Love it.
And yeah, Roop is great as well. I love working with him and his team. They're terrific.
I love the fact that he comes from a SI background, so he's been through all the pains and the trials and the tribulations of building B2B e-commerce capabilities on top of non-B2B focused platforms. So he definitely knows what the market needs and he's building for the market, which I think is fantastic. Now, you're the Director of Digital Experience and Strategy for PCNA. And I didn't realize this, but you are the largest distributor of customized and personalized hard goods and apparel, operating on 5 continents and selling in more than 100 countries. That is just, I didn't realize that PCNA was quite that big. It's a monstrous organization, isn't it?
Yeah, we're one of the largest. There's a few that are bigger than us, but they do a lot more in apparel than we do. But yeah, we're one of the largest in terms of drinkware and bags. There's no supplier that does more than us in the promotional space. So we do the actual branding on the products. So we have a water bottle here, laser etching, all of that. We have facilities across the United States, hundreds and hundreds of machines to do the laser etching, the embroidering, the digital printing, doing some really cool stuff with the actual decoration and making it better, more efficient. But yeah, so if you have branded company swag, that's good chance that it came from PCNA. With how the industry is set up, you've got your suppliers like PCNA, and then you've got your distributors who are selling to the end customers. So like online, you've got 4imprint, you've got Vistaprint, things like that. They are our customers. So if someone goes and buys on 4imprint, there's a good chance we're the ones actually doing the decoration and selling of that product.
Wow.
And then other channels as well. For large events, you need 20,000 drinkware items.
For a concert or who knows what.
Yeah, for a concert, an event like B2B Online or other trade show events like that. If you need large quantities, there's not going to be too many suppliers that are going to be able to do 20,000 plus pieces without it really impacting their capacity. But PCNA is one of the few that can do that.
And before we get into a little bit more detail about your work at PCNA, as I look back across your background, you've been in this B2B commerce space for most of your career, or if not all of your career. What was the attraction? What drew you into B2B? Because most people that maybe are thinking about getting into e-commerce, something like that, they very rarely say B2B is where I'm going to go. They oftentimes think D2C, B2C, sexy household brand names, everybody knows, simple business models, omni-channel selling, all this sort of stuff. That's oftentimes where people head in the first instance, and they might get there through business, or they might get there through marketing or ops or tech or whatever it might be. But You have made your career a focus of B2B, e-commerce, and digital experience, full stop. What was the big attraction for you in the B2B space?
Yeah, I think it started with an internship that I ended up getting with a company called Tecton. They're a small hand tool manufacturer in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They're doing really cool stuff with U.S. manufacturing now. I really enjoyed my time working there. And when I started, I was given their Amazon account. So it started as B2C. Their Amazon account was very new. We're barely selling online. 95+% of their sales were in retail channels. And I just took off with creating this whole experience of managing the Amazon platform, grew significantly, expanded to other retailers like Home Depot and Lowe's, created our own B2B portal for our customers to be able to order from, and then also eventually created a direct-to-consumer website as well. We were getting a lot of traffic on our own website and from our fans that were on Amazon, so just gave them an opportunity to buy directly from us. Now I think that's a really successful channel for them as their own website. So it started not quite in B2B, but molded a little bit at TechDen to B2B. And then at JS Products, the second company that I worked for, is where it really went into B2B, where managed over 10 websites, a lot of them B2B, allowing our retail partners to purchase directly from us, but also some direct to consumer as well. I was actually managing the Cobalt website a little bit while I was there. JS Products does a lot of like private label hand tools, and they do like Cobalt hand tools and partner a lot with Stanley Black & Decker. So was able to work on a few really cool direct to consumer websites there as well. But overall, I just really like and enjoy creating digital experiences. I think especially your own platform is where you like truly can control the whole experience. It was really cool, like how successful we were on Amazon at TechDen, but that is still giving up a lot of control on like how someone interacts with you as a brand. So having your own platform is really where you're able to control the full experience with your end target. So I think that's probably what I enjoy the most. And it's very transferable, I think, to the B2B space as well.
And it's super interesting that when I started to double down on B2B as part of my consulting work, and it's just generally in my career, because I spent 15 plus years in the B2C and D2C space, both on brand side as well as agency side, et cetera. But when I first started getting my teeth stuck into large scale B2B projects, because I naturally always had a bent towards tech and ops as opposed to marketing. That's how I entered the industry, was mainly through the tech and ops direction, not so much the marketing direction, which is how a lot of people do. A lot of people that enter the industry in B2C and D2C, they enter through the marketing vector. And I naturally had an affinity for large scale, complex B2B projects. But one of the things, and I'd love your thoughts on this, one of the things that makes B2B so interesting is because not only are the back office systems more complex as a general rule, because you've almost always got an ERP in play, you oftentimes have a PIM in play, you oftentimes have other back office systems, CRMs, you oftentimes have sales platforms in play that have to be taken into account, maybe even CPQ platforms in play that you don't have in the B2C and D2C world. And then in addition to that, instead of just having this one digital commerce channel being self-service e-commerce like you do in the D2C and B2C world, you've also got this concept of EDI and punch out or e-procurement in addition. So in the B2B world, there's not just one digital sales channel, right? There's many. And so not only do you have 3 owned sales channels in most cases, EDI, punch out, and self-service e-commerce, but then you've got the B2B marketplaces, you've got other B2B channels and trade organizations that sometimes you're selling through. So I guess the breadth of channels owned as well as integrated channels, it's a much more complex stack, and it's a much more complex channel mix to begin with. Then when you layer on top the digital experience layer that has to be tailored and customized per customer organization, price lists, restricted catalogs, MOQs, buying increments, trade terms, payment methods, on account, just when we look at just the sheer complexity of selling digitally in the B2B world, it is vastly different to the B2C and D2C world.
Yeah, absolutely. And at PCNA too, it's not like we're just selling a product. It's a decorated product.
Light manufacturing, basically, right?
Yeah, and that adds so much complexity as well, because is it being decorated? Are you putting it left chest? Are you putting it right chest, right shoulder, back? What is the method you want to do? What are the colors you want to have?
What is the design that you actually need to be able to upload the design, upload the logo, all that sort of stuff, right?
Can it be done in the method that you want it to be? A lot of times, like if your logo has really sharp edges, or like the logo itself just adds so much complexity in the art. And we touch over 600,000 pieces of artwork a year. And a lot of them aren't necessarily in like production ready format. So like that alone, just in our business model, adds significant complexity. But you're right, like we've got multiple business units, multiple ERPs. We're all trying to get the right data, get the right terms, and the right experience to each of our different type of distributors. Our industry is also a little strange, is that like the procurement side of things isn't really there. It's more, I would say the procurement on our side is more of what we would call program business. So let's say a large bank, they are regularly buying 30 to 50 items from us and other suppliers through our distributor partners. And those items are in a program, repeat business. So I think that would, and then they have got like a little website that they can go and buy specifically for it. So the procurement side is a little bit different in our space as well. But that's one channel of promotional business, is repeated program business. Then we've got our like third-party platforms, which are called like Sage, ASI, Distributor Central. They are like aggregators. They're like the Amazon of the promo space. So all the suppliers are putting their product information on them, and distributors can become members of them and come in, find products. So we need to make sure that our integration with those platforms provides the best experience to customers coming, distributors coming there to find products.
So it's almost like a marketplace or a bid on a job type of opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And then we've got our own website as well. And while not a lot of the transactions actually happen there, it's still huge pre-sale for us. We earlier this year did some attribution reporting and now using an AI solution provider, and now can do these attribution reports on the site. And we see one that we ran recently, up to 85% of our sales actually could have some kind of attribution back to the site. So our website plays, even though the transactions don't necessarily happen there, plays a huge importance to our distributors and sales team on the pre-sale process. And then you've also got like your e-com channels of the foreign prints, the Vista prints, which is also another channel. And again, you have to have really good integrations with them in order to make sure all your products have the right information and details. So it's I think a little bit different than maybe other B2B channels, but in terms of the sales areas, but no less complex. It's quite complicated.
Wow. And for you guys, what does your tech stack look like other than the Znode ecom platform? What types of ERPs, CRMs, is a lot of it bespoke, built in-house, or is it mostly off the shelf and then system integrated together? What does your tech stack look like?
Yeah, we've got Znode as our web platform. Then in the industry, there is I would say like our EDI is called Promo Standards. It's the promotional industry standard way of transmitting information back and forth, whether it's order information, inventory details, or there's a feed that's quite important called the PPC feed, product pricing and configuration. So that's all right, here is this black polo, and here are the imprint locations, here's the colors, here's the decoration details. So that feed is quite important, and that actually feeds the website and a lot of all these other platforms. So that pulls information from our we have a couple business units, so we have a couple different ERPs. We are in a multi-year process of getting down to one ERP.
Consolidating, yep.
Yeah, currently we have, I think, 4 to 5 technically. We'll always have a couple, but the main business units will go down to one in the next few years. And that's going to be called it's called FDM4. It's a little bit more of a niche ERP from a company based up in Canada. They are geared towards that product decoration type business. So our business unit up in Canada runs off that now. Our main business unit in the US is doing a very fun ERP migration to that at the moment, consuming a lot of our time. And then another business unit shortly after that will have the same thing happen. So we'll consolidate down to one ERP, hopefully in a few years, which will make things simpler. Like right now, our main ERP is 25-year-old platform that it has 70, I think it has 75 external tools that are attached to it in order to just do things that we need to be able to run the business or share information out. So it's a mess. And all of those go away once this ERP implementation goes away. And those 75 systems are all like homegrown. So we've got GP that's 25 years old, and all these like homegrown systems that go away with FDM4. And then we've got, as our CRM, we use Salesforce, we use Marketing Cloud. We have a really robust implementation of GA4. We're tracking over 100 actions that happen on the website. Implementing wasn't very fun, but it allowed us to like really understand it now. So when we've got a new feature on the site, we're tracking it almost immediately.
Almost like a product management type of approach, right? What we would traditionally see in a monitoring of usage within, say, the SaaS platform world, where if you're a SaaS vendor, you're going to want to track every single interaction with the platform, what features and functions get used, what features and functions don't get used, how often do they log in, what features do we think we can deploy based on testing. So you're taking more of a rigorous product management type style of approach to the platform, as opposed to a traditional program or project management approach to developing this solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Our Znode platform, we are very much product management focused. We do agile, work in sprints. Each quarter, we've got like a set of big projects that we want to work on and accomplish. We're doing releases usually every 2 weeks. We've got a good team of developers, good team working under me, and we're just like cranking things out and making the site better. And then now, because we've got our attribution reporting, anytime we add a GA track to a new feature, that now is starting to hit on the attribution report. So we can immediately see, all right, what is the lift in revenue associated with this new feature we put out? Or if we update a feature, we can see, all right, it was attributing X amount, and post release, now it's attributing Y amount. Now we know the benefit of the adjustments that we did. Yeah, it helps us also just focus on what feature do we need to work on.
It sounds like you guys have a super high level of digital capability within the business. And that, in my experience, is actually extremely rare in the B2B commerce world. It's oftentimes they have a total reliance on a combination of vendors, SI partners, middleware partners, etc. And it feels, did the business always have kind of that digital capability in-house, that this was really important to the business to have that skill set, that at least, even if we're working with outsourced partners, we can manage them really effectively, we can scope pieces of work really effectively, we can integrate it into our internal work streams. It sounds almost like you have also a PMO inside the business that's managing internal projects as well.
Yeah, we do have a PMO director.
So this is high level. I can't stress this enough to my audience, that if you want to be as successful with digital channels and get really strong ROI from this, you have to have a kind of a minimum base level of knowledge inside the business. Even if you're working with external partners to deliver on certain tactics and implementation pieces, you have to set the vision and you have to have the strategy internally. Otherwise, first of all, you'll probably get ripped off because you'll just buy whatever comes down the pipe. But secondarily, you have to have certain capabilities inside the business to even have successful project delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. Internally, the development team has always been really strong. And 2 or 3 years ago is where, like shortly before I joined, is where they were really starting to focus on the web aspect and the marketing capability aspect. So that area has been more new in the last 2 or 3 years, but internally always had a good, robust PMO team, always good alignment between the projects that are being worked on, specific project manager, managing it and pulling in the right people. Because we've got so many systems and they're very complex, if you make a change in the ERP, that's making a change in the promo standards feed, which is making a change on the website. So you need all of these teams collaborating on these projects when big changes happen. So like this ERP project, I think almost every PM at the company is
touching this in some way
and pulling in the meetings they need to, talking with the people they need to make sure that, all right, if this is the change that's happening in this new ERP, here's how it affects this, here how it affects this. Now how does it affect the website? Really good PMO director at our company. And just, yeah, good digital team as well.
And how long has the company been around? This is obviously not a new company. It's obviously to be at the size and scale it's at. How old is this business? And is it still,
Yeah,
is it a private company? Is it a public company?
yeah.
Is it still founder led?
No, we are owned by private equity, actually. So they acquired the main business, I think about 7 years ago. And before that, there was a few other acquisitions, and since then, a few as well. So Leads, our main business unit, has been around for 40 plus years. And really, a lot of the growth that they've seen has been in the last 14 years or so. And then the growth has continued because of the acquisitions and just other things that we've done. So it's really about 7 businesses or so combined. But yeah, we're owned by private equity, a good partner who are happy to invest in initiatives like this.
That's interesting. And I think that's also a key point because who becomes your equity partner can oftentimes determine your success or failure. Because unfortunately,
Yep.
a lot of private equity has a track record of coming in, cutting, gutting, and then either refloating or spinning business units off. The sum of the parts is greater than the sum of the whole in private equity's eyes in many respects, as opposed to the other way around.
Yep.
And oftentimes they really pull in the reins on digital spend because they're like, wow, we're going to cut marketing, we're going to cut headcount, we're going to cut gut, and then we're going to increase product profitability radically, and then we're going to have a liquidity event happen at some point, and that's how we're going to get our money back. And that's unfortunately a little bit of the MO that most PE has become known for. But in your case, it sounds like PE has truly become a partner in the business, and they actually are interested in a more long-term success and viability and sustainability of the business.
Yep.
That is a pretty rare thing, and especially finding PE partners that are tech savvy enough to know where spend is appropriate to increase scalability, right? Because a lot of the things you're discussing right now, they're all about scale, right? It's how do we scale
Absolutely.
without it breaking the back of the business? How can we automate? How can we standardize? And how can we integrate in such a way that we can double our volume next year if we can without it breaking the back of the business? How can we digest that level of scale within the business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have over 60,000 distributor partners, and obviously they're wildly different in sizes and makeup and complexity. We've got a good sales team, 40 or so field sales reps, a bunch of internal reps and other account managers, but they can only reach out to so many people. So that's where the Salesforce piece comes in. Now someone's done something on the website, they get alerted to it in Salesforce and can go and proactively reach out. But you can only do that so often and so much. So then that's where the marketing cloud piece comes in of, all right, this person who doesn't have a managed account did something, but they did something that's probably worth reaching out. So that's the scale of the marketing cloud piece of the automation and outreach there.
Yeah, and look, I've had a couple of other pretty big players, manufacturers, et cetera, on the podcast, and one of the things they said that also digital channels give them over a pure, say field sales rep model is that when they go into a new region or catchment where literally that opportunity is so big that even if they had field sales reps, they could never resource that new region or new market or new vertical or new category. They could never resource it fast enough to keep up with the potential demand from that region. And I'm thinking even of Stanley Black & Decker. I had those guys on the pod recently, and they said that when they, for example, when they went into India as a new market, that it's such a massive geographical region and the demand is so massive and the sheer number of distributors in that region is so massive that even if they put 500 people on the ground, they could never get to all the opportunities. And so they actually had to do digital outreach to those opportunities and actually acquire customers digitally instead of acquiring customers physically, acquire them digitally. And that their digital model was, and as you say, then when the market starts to shake out and it starts to become clear who's the bigger distributors, the 800-pound gorillas that need to have named account managers, et cetera, that all shakes out over time. And then it becomes really clear where you need to allocate more resource. But is that kind of one of the things you guys look at? You say, look, if we're going to go into a new, or you acquire a new subsidiary or a new business, right? You have to be able to digest that, integrate them into the whole of the business, and you can't just throw bodies at it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So on the market side, we've got good coverage throughout most of the US, but occasionally a field sales rep or something happens. So then now a little region is not being covered or has to be covered by more than just one rep until the backfill is there. But with how these larger distributors are, there's all these account executives at these distributors. So the field sales reps are working with those account executives. Given field sales rep at a distributor, maybe there's 15 AEs at this one company in their area. Even that, they might not even be able to service all of those 15 AEs, account executives. And maybe they're not servicing the right ones because maybe 5 of them are doing over $1 million a year and the rest of 10 are doing like $500,000, let's say. How do you know of those 15 to even be reaching out to? So I think that's more of a challenge in our industry, or just distribution is a little bit different than like hand tools, let's say. That makes it a little bit more tricky. There is still a big relationship aspect of partnering with account executives at distributors, but then like acquisition strategy too, how we're looking at it. We're big into drinkware, we're big into bags. Is there a supplier in a space that we're not in? Are there ones that we can partner with to help us? So this wasn't an acquisition, but a partnership recently was with a supplier called Cap America. They do 60 million in branded hats a year. They're like crazy in the last few years, really good supplier. And we recently had now created a formal partnership with them. So that wasn't an acquisition there, but a partnership at least to expand into a category where we're not quite as big in or as mature in as what they are. So that's part of our strategy too, of looking for partnerships or acquisition targets in product areas that we might not have current coverage on.
And speaking of that digital acquisition model, a lot of B2B brands historically have had a fully gated website experience. You can't even see their catalog. You can't see the SKUs. You can't get product information. You can't download spec sheets. You can't see price. You basically can't see anything until you authenticate. Maybe they got a homepage, landing page with a name, maybe a contact form, maybe a trade account sign up form, and that's it, right? But what I'm seeing and what I'm witnessing, and I'd love your thoughts on this, is that over the last, in particular, 2 to 3 years, a lot of these B2B brands have realized, oh my God, like 60% of our buyers or potential buyers are now millennials. They're starting their supplier search online. They're not going to the bloody yellow pages. They're not going to some trade association or some Slack channel to ask, where can I get this thing from? They're typing in your case, promotional, mug, supplier, manufacturer, distributor. They're starting their search in Google. And if you don't have at least your catalog open enough to be indexed by Google, it doesn't necessarily need to show pricing, doesn't necessarily need to show the trade-specific pricing for an individual customer, or even necessarily even show the inventory you hold of that item, but at least having the catalog itself opened up to where it can be indexed by Google for that long tail, that feels like an absolute no-brainer for B2B brands now, but still so many don't do it yet.
Yeah, and absolutely. And that's exactly our strategy as well. We have our full catalog open. But on the pricing aspect, the promotional product industry already has that kind of figured out. If an end user comes to a site, we have what's called coded pricing. It's a higher price. What the end user is most likely going to pay, but the code is the signal to the distributor if they're not logged in to say, all right, that's the discount applied to that item. So the industry itself already has that part figured out. So if someone logs in, now they're seeing net pricing, and only distributors can get logged in on our website. So then they're seeing coded and net on what they would pay. But our website is strange because it's really only targeted to distributors. A lot of actual end users come to it, and we give them a way to help find a distributor for them. But I actually don't really care so much about SEO because most of our traffic is direct. Most of our distributors know who we are, and we do have like robust like product information. We do spend some time on SEO, but like from the 2 previous places I've been at, SEO has been a huge focus because if you've got a B2C website, well, you need to get that C customer there. And how do you do that? You need good SEO, good ads. Like we don't spend any ads on Google because we just don't need to. We have other platforms that we need to spend ads on to drive views to us. But on Google, it's just, I think we would hit too many end users if we would be spending ads there or even focusing on SEO. Like just, it'd be too many end users coming to our site.
And be disappointed and frustrated when they got there because it's not what they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. So in fact, actually, while I was still at JS Products, I ended up, before I even knew about PCNA, I ended up on PCNA's website because I wanted to buy some something specific for my team for a Christmas gift. And I was so confused because I was like, I want to be able to buy this product, but I can't. How do I do it? So we've made that a little bit better now that I work there, but it's still not terrific. But there's less of a focus on end user. So it's all about the distributor. But yeah, I think opening up your catalog, at least allowing Google to index it, is still important and useful. And I'm sure some distributors come through organically. No, we're one of the big suppliers. It's still amazing that
not everybody's heard of you yet.
No, not everyone's heard of us yet, even though we think they have. It's always a good little wake up. Oh yeah, not everyone does know who we are.
And where I think SEO in your vertical becomes even more important is for your distributors. That because
Yes,
they are trying to find
absolutely.
buyers. They are trying to land buyers
Yes.
digitally.
Yes.
They need SEO. They need open catalogs. They need the ability to
It's the
create an
Ford,
account.
the Vistaprints, or our distributor's website. That is who needs to focus on the SEO. But then for us, we help them by providing them with better product information.
Of course.
Sometimes they're going to go and adjust what we share with them, but if we give them better details, better product names, that's going to help them, which also then helps us.
Yes. You become a strategic partner of theirs, and he who has the best data wins oftentimes. It's not always the case, but oftentimes is the case. And so does that mean
Yes.
that you guys are running a dedicated PIM system in addition to the Znode platform, or do you have 5 PIM systems like you have 5 ERPs?
So we have one PIM. It's called B2B. It's not been updated in about 12 years. A huge pain point, actually, because we can't add new fields easily, and we can't make customizations easily. So it's not the source of truth for all of our product information. Znode has become source of truth for a number of fields, or another system has become source of truth for other fields. And we have to have another source of truth for product decoration information as well.
Of course.
Actually, one of our pain points right now is around our PIM. And because we're doing the ERP implementation, we're holding off on the PIM. But
That's maybe next cab off the rank after ERP.
Yes, that needs to. It would solve and help out product content management tremendously for us. Right now, we're cobbling together a few systems and integrations to make it work, but it is a pain point for us at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're not alone in the B2B world of having challenges around PIM or no PIM. Because oftentimes what I find when I go in is and start consulting around PIM, especially in the B2B world, they say, we have an ERP. Why do we need a PIM? But then when I look behind the scenes, they've got 50,000 Google Sheets or Excel spreadsheets with all the enrichment data. And I'm like, that's why.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's exactly why you need a PIM system. Or the other thing is you guys must do some level of CPQ as well for your distributors that maybe log in and they want to order 100,000 of something or something like that. How do you manage the quote request process? Is that all through Znode as well, or is that a separate CPQ platform?
All through Salesforce. Yeah,
all through Salesforce.
Salesforce.
Okay, cool. And then it's obviously Salesforce is integrated with Znode, so it captures the quote request, funnels it into Salesforce, and then the sales team can follow that up.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Wow, incredible. And you said that your pricing is reasonably standardized because of that industry standardization?
Yes. Yep.
Wow. And so you don't necessarily have to deal with the insane problem that I see in many B2B businesses, which is a single price list per customer.
There are exceptions, but for the most part, because of how the industry is set up with coded pricing, it does simplify that aspect. But maybe terms are different, MOQs are different. Like in our industry, MOQs is a big thing. Maybe this water bottle MOQ is 48. Someone needs 24. Okay, that's going to be a fee. Or what if you get down to the 1, which is more now called print on demand, 1 piece at a time. So the industry itself has helped with how we've got pricing set up. But yeah, there are still complexities customer by customer.
Makes sense. And when you first arrived at the business, what was the biggest challenge they were having digitally at the time when you first started with the company? Because it sounds like they were reasonably mature even by the time you got there. But what were the things that they were really looking to achieve that you said, hey, I think I can bring some real firepower here based on my experience?
Yeah. When I started, the website itself still was in a great place. They, maybe about a year before that, had migrated to the Znode platform, and we're still trying to hone in on a good customer experience. But we track really closely our CSAT and CES scores. And on website, it was at or below 3 when I started. It wasn't particularly great. People were like, bring back the old website. All of the feedback that I was getting, and we use Qualtrics to get a lot of feedback, almost everything in there was like, bring back the old site, bring back the old site, bring back the old site. First year was, the whole strategy was, let's get the basics right. I don't think we have the basics of our website right to even start thinking about doing things like, okay, someone has done this on the website. Now let's create a quote for a salesperson follow-up. We weren't even to that point 2 years ago. It was like the wrong information was being shown on the site, or not the right information. Some of the integrations needed to change, or how we presented the information. So we spent a lot of time on the product page, especially redoing it section by section. We probably spent 5 months completely redoing our product page to just make the information more useful to our customers. And then since then, now it's been, all right, what are the value add features that we can do, or how can we better connect the website to Salesforce, to our sales team, or the automation platform? So last October, early October, we released a feature called like our quick quote calculator, available only logged in, but you can put in, let's say you need 50 of those water bottles, set how many colors you need in your logo, because that's actually a factor in pricing as well for some methods. It's the number of colors. And then you just click quote. And for all of the methods available for that product, it will just quick show you the breakdown of your product price, what we call our setup charge. So for each order, there's a setup charge. A lot of times we have to make a mold or a printout or something in order for it to be printed on the product.
Maybe printing plates or whatever it is, right? Digital printing plates.
Whatever it is. Yeah, whatever it is. And then a run charge every time it's actually hit. So every time it's actually hit. So run charge as well. And then a few other fees potentially. Like if you're less than minimum, that fee's going to pop up. So we weren't sure like this feature was going to get a lot of usage. But one thing that we kept hearing is it's difficult to know what the cost is. And someone could go and like quick configure an order and see the cost, but that actually, let's say that takes 2 minutes. This quick quote calculator takes 10 seconds. And it actually started to be used a lot. And it was a feature we did in one sprint. So it wasn't a heavy lift at all to do, but it started getting a lot of usage. We get this attribution report. We see actually, a lot, and attributing a lot in attribution. So now we're working on additional features to it, and like, how can we improve it while also not making it more complex? So the inputs are the same, but you have some additional options to like download a quote sheet, or download a quote sheet with what we call a virtual. So you can now put your like customer's logo on it and then download the quote sheet. So now you can share that with your end customer and say, hey, all right, here's the opportunity. You asked for, end user asked for 500 water bottles at $50 a water bottle. Well, now they can quickly put together that quote sheet, share that with their end user. So that's how our thought process goes, and where we're at now versus when I started of, do we even have the right information or details on the product? Which I think we're much, much better at that aspect now.
Wow. Product data quality is such a critical foundational piece to this whole thing. And as of today, what would you say roughly the split is in terms of the digital sales channels that you sell through? If we were to compare EDI to self-service e-commerce to punch out, what does that split look like roughly for you today? And I'm guessing you're responsible for all three of those digital sales channels and making sure they work.
Not all of them. I'm slowly getting involved in some more. Got some additional responsibilities recently for a few other channels, but our website like only has 3 to 5% of our transactions actually.
Wow.
So it's pretty small. Most of our customers are integrated through promo standards or are sending out email orders to us. And that might be generated from their ERP. So like NetSuite actually is a pretty big ERP in the promo space. So from NetSuite, someone could put in their order, click send out, and now that emails us the order. So now we need to ingest that order. So actually I would say 3 to 5% are on the website, 70% are through email, through some kind of automation, or actually being emailed. And then the last 20, 30% is through that promo standards integration that customers have set up with us. So on the email aspect, it causes a lot of order entry. And because of the complexity of some orders, like we're not just selling a shirt or a water bottle, we're selling a deck
with the embellishments and all the colors and the logos.
Well, did they provide us everything? Sometimes they forget to give us artwork. Well, now we need to get that artwork. So now we can't process any of your order until we have the artwork. Or, hey, you forgot this part of the order or this part of the order. So it's a little bit more complicated of an ordering process as well. We're even telling us like they forgot to tell us the location they wanted it decorated. So that adds to complexity. But we're hoping to manage and deal with some of that complexity using OpenAI. Actually,
Okay. That was going to be my next question. So I'm glad you brought that up, because
it's all structured data. Like it's all the same information, just being shared with us in different formats. Sometimes it might be in an email. Sometimes it might be in a PDF. The other day, we actually, this is like just wild and shows you how strange our industry is. Someone emailed a photo of a order written on a Marriott pad print paper.
like a sticky note, basically.
Yes. And it was just a picture of it. But again, like OpenAI can read that and turn it into structured data and put it into our order systems. That's something that we're working on right now to really improve the order process and speed things up and optimize it.
Yeah, because I guess when an order comes in,
AI.
Like if you've got a dedicated order email address, then I guess that creates a job. When that email is received, it gets assigned a job number, and then it can be followed through right from that original email with all the assets attached to it or any attachments attached to the email, whether it's a CSV, a PDF, whatever it is. And then basically the AI can look at that, map it to the fields against the job, and then any incomplete fields, it can automatically send out an email to request any additional information. And that's the level of automation that especially ChatGPT 4.0, because it's multimodal, it can work with the attachments as well and handwritten script and everything. So that feels like it could potentially be a pretty big game changer for you guys.
Yeah. On the order entry side, it'd be huge. And for our customers as well, because now if they forget to attach artwork, we might not be able to tell them for 2 days that we realize it, that they don't have the artwork. So now we've just lost 2 days of processing the order, where with this new system, it will immediately know we're missing artwork or we're missing this and let them know so that they can get it to us. So it's going to speed up processing time as well. And just order issue resolution will go up pretty significantly when we roll this out later this year.
And are you doing anything with mobile in the sense of, I know a lot of B2B businesses, they do a tremendous amount of work via WhatsApp, like the connection between the sales rep and the customer, or the AE on the distributor side. They'll have a WhatsApp connection and they'll say, okay, here's my order. I've attached it to this WhatsApp message. How much of the mobile experience or mobile app-based experience is happening in your industry, and is it important to you guys?
I don't know any of it on the WhatsApp side. And actually, our website traffic, 90% of it is desktop.
Wow. Okay. So mobile is not necessarily a big deal for you guys.
We get a lot of website traffic, so we still get a lot of mobile traffic. But again, at the previous places I worked at, it was probably more like 60, 70% mobile, 30, 40% desktop. So we spent a lot on mobile and creating that experience. But at PCNA, like so much of our traffic is desktop that we almost don't even care about the mobile experience. We're making sure like our site is responsive and the features all work on mobile and the basics. But we're not going and starting with the mobile first design approach, which is, I think, very different than I think even most B2B places right now as well. Yeah, it's just so significant on desktop. And like the WhatsApp, I've not heard of any of that. Interesting, there is a pretty active like Facebook group for distributors and suppliers around it as well. And every day distributors are asking like, hey, what supplier should I go to for this opportunity I've got, looking for a water bottle or looking for a bag, and other distributors and suppliers will reply. So not WhatsApp, but on Facebook, there's that.
Wow.
Kind of a funny thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of Facebook communities around niche verticals, that's for sure. I've seen quite a few of those in action. Not so many LinkedIn groups, but definitely Facebook groups, which is crazy that LinkedIn never was able to really capitalize on that, which is nuts. But what's on your immediate radar? What's your priority if you were to look out 6, 12 months from now? What don't you guys offer today through your web experience that you'd love to have in place in the medium term at least? Yeah,
there's a big... in the order process, there's this aspect of proof approval where, all right, we've got your order. Here is what it actually looks like. So we send out a proof approval email and the distributor has to go and approve it. That experience right now is disjointed between our business units, and we're migrating that all to a PCNA.com experience. So that is going to be a big win for our distributors, for our team. We'll be able to do some more automations there. And then it's also like a hold up on orders as well. Because let's say we send a customer a proof approval, but they don't look at it for 2 days. Again, we're just waiting. When we create this as a website experience, we're actually going to give the distributors the ability to create their own proof using our virtual tools. So we use Artify, Zenode's sister platform.
Yes.
To create virtuals. You can upload a logo, see it on a product. Well, we're using that to allow distributors to create their own proofs, approve their own proof before an order is submitted, reference that. So now when the order is placed, they don't have to have that proof approval process. So that is rolling out in a few weeks. And probably at this point, the biggest thing that's been missing in terms of our digital experience. Next year, we're looking to migrate to Zenode 10. So that'll be a big project. And then hopefully implement a PIM as well. So that's the roadmap for next year.
Love it. What an exciting space to be in. This is why, is why I love having a podcast. This is why I love talking to experts like you, because it's so fascinating and interesting. And I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure the benefits of your hard-fought, hard-won experiences can be distributed far and wide, and we can, because I'm a firm believer that a rising tide floats all boats, and if we can collectively make our industry better, it's going to create more digital opportunity for all of us who work in the B2B space. So I think this is fantastic, and I really appreciate your transparency, your openness, your honesty. I find a lot of B2Bs are a little bit more closed shop. They're a little bit more, I don't really want to talk about my business because it's a competitive advantage and that sort of stuff. But I love the fact that you spoke at B2B Online. You're willing to share from your deep pool of experience, because you clearly believe also that a rising tide floats all boats. And it's interesting, as I focused down over the last few years and niche down harder and harder in the B2B space, it's such a massive contrast in the B2C and D2C space, because B2C and D2C brands, they love speaking at conferences. They love jumping on podcasts. They love getting their brand exposure out there. They look at it as a marketing opportunity more than anything else. Whereas I find that in the B2B space, again, it's a lot more legacy brands, a lot more legacy players, and a lot more closed shop. So I really genuinely appreciate you being so willing to chat about all the exciting, cool digital initiatives that you guys are doing at PC. It's very cool. So I really do appreciate it. Now, as we come down to the end of our time together, man, this has almost been an hour. It's just flown by. Really appreciate it. This is where I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to you. I get to let you ask me one question. Any question you like, could be personal or professional. Brennen from PCNA, what is your question for me today?
What's been the project you have worked on that was the most exciting to you?
Oh, man, it's a tough one. I've worked on many exciting projects over the years. I think the ones that were the hardest were probably the most rewarding, where you go in and this happens very routinely. I'll get brought in to look at e-com, but then when we dig under the bonnet, we get into discovery, we realize the back end is an absolute disaster. So I'll get brought in and they think we're going to be doing an e-commerce project together, and then ultimately it ends up being maybe a PIM project first, or an ERP project first, or a CRM project first, or maybe a CPQ project first. And usually what it means is I need to assist them with data engineering. So I'll always ask, when I first start consulting to a new B2B brand, I'll ask for a sample of their product data, and I'll ask for a sample of their customer data, and like a cross-section of that. What does this look like? And what systems do you get this from? And usually within about 5 minutes of starting to review that, I can tell them exactly where the problems are in their business. And I can say, this is clearly a challenge for you. And this is clearly coming from 15 different systems, and none of them talk to each other. There's manual cutting and pasting, manual uploads of CSVs. Oftentimes, the projects where I get the most satisfaction is where I go in and we start to get data out of sales reps' heads, and which is a very one-to-one scalable thing. And we get it into a one-to-many scalable thing. And especially if they're doing e-com or digital commerce for the very, very first time, oftentimes this data, it's in print catalogs, it's on network drives, it's scattered everywhere across the business. And the sales reps know where to get stuff for their customers, and they know where to identify it, and they like attach it to emails, or they print it off and take it when they go and visit customers on site. But where I get the most satisfaction is when we can make all of that beautiful data, that rich data inside the business, a one-to-many proposition. That's probably where it's not even so much the tech. Oftentimes it's helping these brands understand the value of data as an asset and looking at it as a worthy investment instead of purely a cost center in the business. Because oftentimes these B2B brands, they see data as a cost center because it is expensive. It's expensive to collect it. It's expensive to create it. It's expensive to aggregate it, rationalize it, organize it, put it into a PIM system or wherever it is. And then oftentimes, especially with light manufacturing or full-blown manufacturing, they also need a PLM system as well. And that's what generates a lot of the foundational data that then goes into the PIM, the ERP, et cetera. And so helping them understand what those workflows really need to look like to be efficient, those are the projects that are exciting. Because a lot of times it's simply a case they don't know what they don't know. And oftentimes they don't know how much advancement has happened in the B2B technology space over the last even 5 years. They have no idea. They've worked with really old 10, 15, 20 plus year old systems, and they don't know that there's cool new tech that's just for them, that's tailored just for them, their vertical, their industry, their scenario. And when they see it and they get a demo of it, they're like, ooh, this is really cool. We could use it these 15 different ways. And so to see those light bulb moments come on and you being able to lead those conversations, it's just super rewarding.
Thank you.
Amazing. Look, I'll drop your contact details, your LinkedIn details into the show notes, as well as the PCNA website into the show notes. Other than that, how do you like people to get a hold of you if they want to have a chat about PCNA, if they want to chat about your products, if they want to have a chat to you about e-com? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, probably LinkedIn would be the best way. Just send me a message there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your show.
Are you a B2B or D2C e-commerce merchant? Then head over to greenwoodconsulting.net to learn how we can help you scale your business.